Now, if you're struggling with self-sabotage and you don't know where to start, here, right here on this podcast, we're building the community. I want to remind you, breaking self-sabotage patterns takes time. You've been operating like this for years, every decade, like I was. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate the small wins. We're building a community of people committed to breaking these cycles. Welcome, everybody. Hello to Terror to Triumph. I am Alfonso Pelt, your host and creator of Terror to Triumph. This is my lovely co-host, Storm. Hi, Storm. How you doing tonight?
I'm fine, thank you. How you doing?
I am okay. The weather is warming up finally here in Detroit, and I'm so happy about it. I'm happy. Soon we're
Yes.
gonna be outside again, and we ain't gonna be wearing coats and stuff like that, So it's coming, and I can't wait. I'm glad to be a part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
All right, we got another good topic for you guys tonight. This topic is very, very sensitive for siblings and the dynamic of trauma between them, healing the broken bond between the siblings and those who have suffered trauma as collectively you try to deal with it. It's, like I said, it's a very tough subject, and we're going to try to chew through it tonight so you guys can be able to digest this content and understand that there's a lot of us out there that suffered through trauma, and we're not the only ones, as we would think we are. But the truth of the matter is, our siblings was right there with us as we went through it. And they possibly have suffered trauma too, in some form or degree of their own. And we have to understand the relationships and how that happens and what's involved and all the dynamics of the sibling relationship as it comes to trauma inflicted families. So tonight we're going through it, okay? We're going to try to power through this. And I thank you all for joining us. Terror to Triumph is broadcasting live on Buzzsprout, Facebook, on my personal page, Alfonso Belt, those spaces, and on our YouTube channel at Terror to Triumph Live. So if you go there and check us out, you can also leave a comment live on those platforms and we can respond to you. Well, the YouTube and the Facebook platform, not the Buzzsprout. The Buzzsprout is listen only. But now we have subscriptions. I want to make you aware or remind you, if you haven't heard the earlier announcements, that we now have subscriptions. We are giving our live Q&As and our specials and our special series. And if we have a special guest, that'll also be included in our subscriptions. No longer are we giving those to free domain. Now we're also just having that in our content, subscribe content. You can subscribe and get that content on our Buzzsprout platform. You can go and look up dareToTriumph.buzzsprout.com and you can subscribe. It's not expensive. It's only $10 a month. And that helps us keep the lights on. See what's in the
Yes.
background? We got to keep those going. Keep the conversations moving and keep the information flowing so we can help you and get you on that path to your healing journey. So on to the topic. We are talking about something that is cutting deep. That is that sibling dynamics and trauma. Your siblings were supposed to be your allies, your people. But in an abusive home, things get a little complicated, right? So maybe you were pitted against each other. Maybe one sibling was the favorite. Maybe you had to protect them. Maybe they didn't protect you. So today we're untangling all of that. And we're trying to talk about, and we are talking about healing those relationships. So, Storm, let's get it.
All right, let's go.
All right. In a healthy family, siblings are your first friends. Okay. They're your allies. They're your people who get it because they lived it too, right? But in an
Yes.
abusive home, siblings become complicated. And here's why trauma creates scarcity. Okay. When a parent is abusive, there's limited safety. I mean, you're in your own home and already the trauma is the elephant in the room. So it's squeezing everybody. You have limited love, limited resources, whether they're emotional, physical, or financial. Excuse me, y'all, I got the burps. I don't know why I didn't really eat after I got home. Yes, I did. I had some fries and a sausage. That might be why. But anyway, excuse me, I only had a little moment there. I'm just thinking about it. But so siblings compete for all the limited resources that's left behind, right? So they compete for the parents' attention, or they compete for safety, or they compete for the love. And that competition breeds resentment towards siblings. Favoritism divides. An abusive parent often has a favorite child, the golden child, the one who can't do no wrong. And then there's the scapegoat, the one who gets blamed for everything, the one who can't do anything right. Okay? If you were the golden child, your siblings resented you, even though it wasn't your fault. If you were the scapegoat, you resented the golden child or the others, even though they didn't choose it either. So both of you were manipulated by the abusive parent. Okay. So I'm going to let you go on ahead from here. But before I let you take over where it says abuse creates different responses, I want to iterate something right quick. I don't know if my siblings are watching tonight, but this is dedicated to you guys, okay? Because we experienced this, we lived this. This was a part of our lives. We did have the golden one. You know, I wasn't it. And I did get blamed for a lot of stuff. So I felt like I was the scapegoat. But there was another of my siblings who was blamed a lot for things. And I believe that's my oldest sister. She bared a lot of weight from us. And I mean, not from us, but from my parents. And my sister, my heart goes out to you. You know, as I go through this journey on this platform, I'm learning a lot of stuff myself about the information we give. Yeah, but a lot of it hits home to me too, because I'm finding out for the first time outside of the therapy. So that's what I mean by we plowing through it, we getting into it, and it's hitting me too. Suresh Verma, I would like to thank you for joining us. Thank you for the greetings from India. I do remember you in my prayers, and I do say prayers for you and say prayers for you and your ministry. And my heart goes out to the children and the poor widows and the disabled persons in your feeding program. So I wish you all the best, and I wish you well in your outreach programs there. Minister or Pastor Suresh, and his wife, Mary Suresh from India, have long been working in their communities to feed the needy, the hungry, and the disposed. I would like to just extend a hearty, heartfelt thank you for showing up and being a part of this platform. Thank you for your comment. And the prayers are still moving forward as far as that goes. So, Storm, could you now continue, please?
Abuse create different responses. Siblings experience the same abuse differently. One sibling might freeze, another may fight back, another one might disassociate. One sibling may become the peacekeeper, another one become the rebel. These different survival strategies can create conflict between siblings. Alliance shift. In an abusive home, alliances are survival tools. Sometimes you and your sibling band together against the parent. Sometimes one of you sides with the parents to stay safe. These shifting alliances create betrayal, even when both of you were just trying to survive. Parentification pits siblings against each other. If you were parentified, you may have been responsible for your sibling. You had to feed them, protect them, care for them, but you were a kid. You were also being abused. Your siblings may resent you for not protecting them better or being too strict or having to take orders from you. And you may resent them for not appreciating that, appreciate what you sacrificed, which I have gone through this with my cousins because they was like my siblings. So I had to be the one to say, hey, let's do the homework, let's clean the house. Because you already know, your mother stated if her house is not clean when she get home, she was gonna beat all of us.
Mm. I hope
Yes,
my siblings is watching because that's
yes,
us. That
yes.
was us. My older sister had the responsibility you had with your family, Storm, and this is explaining that whole situation. And when my older sister left house, that responsibility fell down to my middle sister. So she took that brunt. But my middle sister was also the golden child. She the one that couldn't do no wrong. Sometimes we did resent her for being the favorite. She was the favorite out of all of us. That's
Yeah,
just how it was.
I was the
I
golden
think.
child, but yes, I was the golden child. Not that I got away with
Mhm.
anything, but I was the one that was resented because of them being beat by their parents for anything. And I wasn't getting that treatment. And but I was taking punches on the other hand because I had to make sure y'all did everything. Y'all did y'all homework. I fed y'all. We cleaned the house because I was strict, you know? And so
Mm.
they don't understand that even though they resented me because I didn't get the same punishments that they got, you know, and I didn't get beat like they did. They don't understand how my heart went out to them and how it put me in a shell, because I felt bad, because they was being tortured and I was like, my mom was not doing me the way that they was being done, and they was getting beat for anything, just any little bitty thing, just anything, nothing. It could be a look. It could have been the fact that, they walked on a piece of paper, just the tiniest thing. And
So,
my
yeah,
heart went out
that's
to
how I
them.
felt.
Hmm.
Go ahead, go ahead. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take long. I just want to say that, if they are watching, I love y'all. I didn't want y'all to go through this. And I did resent, what all y'all been through, and yeah, y'all tried to kill me, when I was 16. And because, you know, I didn't get what y'all got, but y'all don't understand. I had my own heart. I had my own pain. I had my own hardship. I had already been sexually assaulted. I was dealing with that. So I was going through my own moments, and I do feel sorry for y'all. And I just love y'all.
See, Oh, this is it's tugging on my heartstrings, really, because I remember my older sister really going to bat for us. She was like the buffer between us and our parents. And sometimes I did resent her when she gave us the orders. And, she was frustrated too. She was abused too. Mm, I don't want to tell her story. That's her story. She has created a book for it, and I want her to come out with her book and tell her story. But she had gone through her own trials, and those trials had her, I'm sure, created resentment that she had to take care of us. She loved us, and she didn't want us to go through what my parents was having her go through. So it was a big disruption. I'm sure on her to have to carry that mantle as a child because our parents were not apt to control the household that they should have control. That they were the parents. They should have been the ones to run all the stuff or have us do the chores, not put someone in charge to be over us as the mini manager, so to speak, an enforcer to have us do certain things. And that does pit siblings against siblings. So, okay, want to stop there. And I don't want to go too much further. I want to get back into the meat of this. So, where did you leave off? This creates mistrust, shame, and distance.
No secrets create distance.
Uh,
Yeah,
okay, siblings
it's
might
right
tell
before.
them. Okay, so different memories of the same abuse. Here's something that happens. You and your sibling experience the same abuse, but you remember it differently. You remember your parent as violent, your sibling remembers them as sad. You remember being terrified, your sibling remembers being angry. So that comes from the dichotomy of who was the golden one, who was the one that was the black sheep of the family and stuff like that. I always felt like I was the black sheep. Okay. And I already told you the one was the golden child, but I remember my parents as being violent. And there's no way none of my siblings could say otherwise, honestly, because they were violent all throughout our lives. But some of my siblings might see them a little differently than what I have or what the others have, the ones who were closer to them. So it might be a different view or perspective. You remember needing protection. Your siblings remembers needing to be strong for themselves and for you. You as a sibling, that is. These different memories can make you feel like your siblings don't understand, like they're minimizing your experience, like they're on the abuser side. Okay. But they're not. They're just processing it the same trauma. They're processing the same trauma you are. Okay. They're just processing it differently. Unresolved trauma gets passed down. If your sibling hasn't dealt with their trauma, they might hurt you emotionally, physically, sexually. Siblings can be abusers too. And that adds another layer of betrayal. Okay. You were supposed to be safe with them and you weren't. I mentioned the fact that when I was going through the sexual trauma from my mother, that I was feeling exposed because she didn't try to hide that. And one of my siblings happened to walk by the doorway while it was going on. And I don't know if her mind registered the act of it happening, but she walked by and she kept going, so to this day, she doesn't even remember it. When I brought it up, and told her, "You passed right by. You looked in." She was like, "I don't remember that ever happening." So she's repressed that. And I don't blame her for that. But at a point, I resented her for not helping me. So this is adding up into what we're talking about tonight. I was supposed to feel safe. Remember, well, okay, you might not know, but I was the baby of the family. Everybody was older than me. So when my sister saw that, I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to get some help. And no, help never came. Help walked right past the doorway and went on about their lives. And I'm still going through this traumatic episode. So that made me not trust anybody in my family. And it stopped a lot of trust for me outside of my family. So this is some real stuff, y'all. This ain't nothing to play with. Storm, can you start off on the list from the common patterns and sibling relationships after trauma?
You say, okay, one sibling cuts off contact completely. Siblings complete for the parents' love, even as adults. One sibling enables the abused parent.
I'm pointing at me. Because that
Okay.
first one was me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract you, but yeah, that was me. We're gonna go
One,
over these in a minute. I just wanted Storm to cover these right quick.
one sibling
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off. I'm
enables
sorry.
the abusive parent and the other one doesn't. Siblings have different relations with the abuser. One sibling becomes the family rescuer, the other becomes the rebel. Sibling blames each other for family problems. One sibling minimizes the abuse, the other acknowledges it. Siblings don't talk about what happened. Resentment builds silently over years. The truth. Your siblings was a victim. They also was a victim, even if they hurt you, even if they didn't protect you, even if they sided with the abuser. They were a child in a traumatic situation. They didn't know what they had to do to survive, and so did you.
So you see, on this list, if any of these apply to you or have been a part of your upbringing, then you know that you were suffering abuse in that situation amongst your siblings. Okay. I was waving like, that's me. That's me. I was saying that first one, sibling cuts off contact completely. My siblings know that when I got out the house, I didn't talk to nobody. My brother, which is the only brother I have that's alive, I didn't talk to him. I didn't talk to my eldest, my middle, or my youngest sister. I didn't talk to aunts, uncles. I didn't talk to cousins. I ain't talk to nobody. I cut everybody off. And I was trying to live my life. And the hardship was when my parents tried to call me or interject themselves in my lives. I felt like even on a phone call, I felt like I was threatened. That's how serious it was. As an adult, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about as a child. I'm talking about as an adult. I didn't want to even talk to them on the phone. Okay, so think about that for a minute. Now, does any of these resonate with you, Storm? Does any of these bring up something in you or memories or something that's really prominent?
Um,
Excuse me, y'all.
I don't. My cousins, they had their own trauma, and I just felt like I was a part of that trauma because I couldn't help them. And, did they probably blame me? I don't know because they never talked about it. They never opened up about it. Could I have helped them? No, I couldn't because I was a child myself. I was scared to death, myself for them because I felt like I was the big sister, even though I was the cousin. And I felt like I was threatened too. You know what I'm saying? What you want me to do? I can't do nothing. Who I supposed to tell? I felt
Do
like
you
I
feel
couldn't
like
tell
they
my own.
resented you or something?
Sometimes I feel like they did. And I don't know that. Seriously, don't know that because they never open up and say, I blame you. They never open up, but they tried to kill me when I was 16. They tried to, suffocate me with a pillow.
That
So,
sounds like a form of resentment.
so
That's a little bit, just a little bit. So I would say yes on that. That
yeah, so it was two of them. It wasn't three because the other one, she was too young to really probably resent me. But the two, you know, they, I felt something, and some say open your eyes. And they had a pillow over my head. They was about to suffocate me.
oh my
So yeah,
God. So you were like the golden child, and they were resentful of you because they felt like you had special treatment. And it wasn't so much in your situation, it wasn't so much in the household, even though y'all was together as cousins from time to time. But they looked at your life with your parents and saw how you got treated and thought that you had it better. When in actuality, you was going through your own stuff, right?
yeah. My
So,
mom was my mom was absent. Their mom was like my mother. So I felt like
mm,
their mother was my mother because my mom was absent. My mom worked she worked hard for a living like a slave. So their mom when they went out of town, I went out of town with them like I was their sibling. So yeah, I was the golden child, and I felt like yes, they resented me. But I didn't have two parents. I had one.
mm, okay, okay. So we both are really talking from two sides of the same coin, or well, the same side of the coin. Because well, no, yeah, yeah, two sides of the same coin. Because you were the golden child. I felt like I was the black sheep or the one that got accused for everything. So yeah, I resented my middle sister for a long time because she was doted on. Parents did show her a lot of love and affection. I didn't get the so-called love and affection that I got came in the form of things, objects, like toys or something like that, which I rather have had the love, the closeness, the more understanding, the hugs, the kisses, the showering of affection. I didn't get that. I was just like, oh, here go a racetrack, have fun with that. Here go a Tonka truck, have fun with that. They'll look at me, watch me play with it for a minute. Then they go on about their business. That's it. So I'm like,
and
I got
and then turn
destructive.
around
I started
and turn around and beat you with the same toy that they gave you.
to racetrack. Yeah, them things hurt. Race car tracks. So, my mother. Mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, 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 sure did. Okay, so let's talk about the specific wounds that come from sibling bonds. Feel like you're not being protected. Your siblings supposed to have the back and they didn't. They were too young. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they didn't know you needed help. Okay, so the wound is real, but you felt left alone. You felt betrayed. You felt like your siblings didn't they chose the abuser over you. So the wounds of being blamed are your sibling blames you for things that weren't even your fault, right? So for not protecting them, for not stopping the abuse, you heard me talk about that earlier, for surviving differently than they did. So, me looking back now, even though I resented my other sister for not helping me in my traumatic experience, she was a child too. What was she supposed to do? She couldn't have stopped my mother at that point. She did. She wasn't strong enough. She was almost the same size I was. She was a little bigger than me. So how was she supposed to stop it? So I internalized the blame and I carried the guilt for things that I couldn't control. And I'm sure they probably did. And that's maybe the reason why she repressed it out of her memory. So the wound of favoritism is that your sibling was the golden child and you were the scapegoat and you resented them because you resent that they got the love. Didn't I just speak about that? They got that
Yes.
love. They got the safety. They got away with things that you'd be punished for. That was pretty much our household. And if you were the golden child, you feel guilty. I don't know if my little sister ever felt guilty, but she felt like you feel like you were betrayed by your sibling that was receiving all the favor. Okay. The wound of different realities. You and your siblings remember things differently. That's me and my youngest sister. We remember things differently. You experience the same home, but you're describing two different childhoods. That is very prevalent in our home, from my brother to my older sister, all the way down to me. This makes you feel crazy, like you're the one who's wrong, like you're exaggerating, like your siblings don't believe you. And I've had to deal with that. The wound of silence. You and your sibling don't talk about what happened. Yep. When I disassociated myself from my family for decades, that was that. You pretend everything is fine, and I did. Avoided them. I kept the family secret. I didn't talk about it. I imagine they didn't talk about it much. But that was that. The silence was a wall between us. And it kept us from really knowing each other, from really hanging or healing together. So my siblings, this is all us. This is all us. This is why we have so much distance in our family. And if you come up in an abusive family, think about this. This might be the reason why you have distance between your siblings. If it ever crossed your mind to say, why me and my siblings not as close as we should be? This might be the reason, because the abusive family caused you to be at odds with your siblings. So the wound of being hurt by them, your sibling may have abused you, or they may have whooped you. Like your parents were the abusers, your sibling picked up how the whoopings and abusive the whoopings are. They may have whooped you similarly because they gave them control over you. They gave them the parentship over you. So that may be an issue. Or in your case, it might have been emotionally or sexually or mentally, depending on how the parent displayed all these things, or depending on how the child misinterpreted the control that they had, anything could have happened. So that's a specific kind of betrayal because they were supposed to be your ally, your person, and they hurt you. And the wound of losing them, uh, maybe you had to cut off contact with your sibling to protect yourself. Maybe they cut contact with you to protect themselves. With my family, it feels like it's a two-way street. We cut each other off, you know. Either way, we lost a relationship that could have been healing for us. And that could have been our greatest source of understanding our lives and our upbringing. These wounds are real and they need to be acknowledged. Storm, can you take the next segment, please?
Healing siblings relationships. Healing siblings relationships is possible, but it's required honestly, vulnerably, and sometimes letting go. Acknowledge the wound. Name what happened. What did your siblings do or not do that hurt you? Don't minimize it. Don't make excuses. Just name it. Recognize that they're also a victim. Don't. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it con- contextualize it. Your siblings was also a child in a traumatic environment. They were also doing what they had to do to survive. Understanding that doesn't mean you have to forgive them, but it may help you stop blaming them for things they couldn't control. Three, decide what you want. Do you want to repair the relationship or do you need to distance? Both are valid. Both are healing choices. If you want to repair it, you need to have a conversation, a real one, where where you where you tell the truth. If you need distance, that's okay too. You don't have to stay in a relationship that hurts you. Have the conversation if you choose to. This is hard, but it's necessary. Tell a sibling what you experienced, how it affected you, what you needed from them now, what you are willing to do to repair the relationship. Listen to their experience too, without defending, without explaining. Just listen. 5, set boundaries. You may repair the relationship, but that doesn't mean you go back to the old dynamic. You set new boundaries. You decide what you will and won't tolerate. You decide what kind of relationship you want to have. Step 6, grieve what you didn't have. You didn't have a sibling who protected you. You didn't have an ally in your childhood. You didn't have someone who understood. That's a loss, and it deserves to be grieved. Step 7, build something new. If you repair the relationship, you get to build something new, something based on honesty, on mutual respect, on shared understanding of what you both survived. That can be powerful. That can be healing. The truth, your sibling is not your enemy. The abusive system is. Your sibling is another survivor, and together you have the power to heal, not just individually, but as a family unit. That's where real transformation happens.
So we talked about being pitted against each other. We talked about our siblings tried to hurt us. We talked about trying to have a real conversation with our siblings afterwards. The conversations that I tried to have with my siblings afterwards, we talked about trauma in our families. Like me and my brother, we talked about some of the stuff that he's been through. And I know he doesn't want to go through it. I'm not going to bring the stuff up here to respect him and his privacy. But I never did get to tell him about the things that I went through in depth. My oldest sister, I have discussed it with her, but that was much later in life. As much as she discussed the things that she went through with me. So we came to a place of mutual understanding about our upbringing, but we never got into this conversation. We never got into the parentizing of her life, my oldest sister I'm talking about, and how that affected the rest of us as siblings. And I never had this talk with any of my other siblings as far as the parentizing goes. But we talked about the other abuses that we suffered. So that didn't really repair our relationship, just talking about the abuse. We didn't really get down into the crust of all the things that was happening and why we feel like we're resenting each other and why we're pushing each other away. We never got into those things. So knowing what we know now after tonight's episode, I feel like those were some conversations that need to be had. They need to be addressed. I'm looking at one of these statements, prompt that says, what would you tell a young person with a broken sibling bond? Storm, do you think you can address that one?
Okay, what would you tell a sibling?
With a broken sibling bond.
That one is kind of hard because I
Mm.
haven't did it myself. So how can I explain to somebody what they need to do that I have not done? You know?
Well, at the same time, your situation is a little different too, because
Yeah.
you're a single child. I mean, a single child of a single child home. Do you really have siblings, or is it just your cousins that you interacted with?
Well, because we was all in the same house, we was brought up together, you know,
Mhm.
it's like they
So it
was my
felt like,
siblings. Yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was
See,
I was the head. I was the one that had to be like, All right, your mom called. She said, you do this, you do that. We had to divide chores. Like I said, my heart goes out because if anything was left undone or anything was done wrong, it's like they caught, the worst for it. So I had to make sure in order for things not to happen in that order that I went behind, stop saying, okay, I did mine, they better get theirs. No, I started going behind like, oh, did you empty the trash? Let me make sure the trash is up date. Let me make sure the floor is swept. Let me make sure I go behind them out. Let me make sure that you did the living room. Let me make sure this happened. Let me make sure the bathroom's clean. Let me make sure it's up to specs because when she stepped in the house, I really didn't want nobody to have to catch flack over something that we could have went over with each other. So yeah, that was kind of heart wrenching because you didn't want nobody to catch flack for something that you could have double backed on, and I just said, hey, yeah, it's done. Whatever. I'm finna retire to my room, and if it ain't done, that's on them. No, it was like, no, you live and you learn. When you get tired of seeing what's going on, you kind of like you ready to stop. You ready to take action. And yes, did I block one of them? One of them hits one day and pay for it? Yes, I paid for it. I had a mark.
Feel you on that. I feel you on that. And I'm imagining that's what my older sister went through. So everything that you're talking about tonight, because yeah, it's pretty much the same on that level. When she told us we all did our chores around the same time, but when we didn't do something right, but she might have got chastised about it, but we were the ones that got the whooping for not doing it right. So I know that tugged on her heartstrings. And that's what made her want to do whatever she could to protect us. And she went to bat a lot for us. And I love you, sis, for that. But my heart also goes out for you for that too, because you put yourself in harm's way. And I know how our mother was. She was she wasn't no joke. She was smoking time bomb. We are actually way over our time. We were supposed to only be on for 30 minutes, but I feel like maybe we should do a whole hour to give you guys all the information. I don't want to skimp out on you and only give you a portion of the information that we have. So we're going to continue to talk about this situation for a little bit longer. I wish my siblings would have came on tonight. So at least we could have had a little dialogue on the Q&A type situation. They could have asked us questions or they could have at least commented and maybe made a statement about how they felt. But it's okay. I know everybody has their own path to their healing, and not everybody wants to talk about their healing. So give them grace, give them time. You know, you can try to start the conversation, be gentle about it, but let them know that you suffered and that you're trying to see how they had their perspective focused on the situation. How did they think about the situation? How did they feel about the situation? What were their thoughts? What were they going through at the moment in time? I'm thinking these are the things that you might want to ask your sibling. If you have been in or are experiencing or have experienced broken home where you were pitted against your siblings and your siblings had resentment for you and you had resentment for them and you want to patch things up. These are the things you might want to think about asking your sibling, or if you have a friend that's going through it, you might want to tell them these things to say to their sibling to bring about some kind of resolution to the issue. Because left unchecked, this can go on until everybody in the family passes away. And then there's always going to be something in the back of your mind like, I should have tried to reach out, or I should have tried to create a safe place for us to talk. There should have been some kind of phone call made or stop by the house and rap on the door to try to facilitate the conversation. But if you don't talk about it, your siblings not talking about it, everybody's going through the trauma in their own zone, you know? And that's like you ever seen like bubbles getting stuck together? You know, initially they have a wall in between them. If you ever had one of those little toys where you picked up, you dipped it in the soap and you blew the bubbles and you see two of the bubbles connect, they don't just be two balls. It'll be a dividing membrane in between them. They'll be stuck together. So that's kind of like our siblings. We'll be that cluster with the membrane in between us. So we're individually still going through our stuff. But piercing that and becoming with the one big bubble would be you crossing the barrier to talk and open up and start a conversation with your sibling to try to reach an understanding. Storm, what you think about it?
It would be hard, because that's all wounds, and I don't even know where to start because, like I told you, not, I don't know where it would lead me. It would have to probably be a phone call first, just to see what a mindset is. Or, they'll probably say to me, why you want to bring it up. But I would like to know if they okay, from it because we do talk, but it ain't like they never said anything about it, because we do talk, we communicate. We communicate very well, but sometimes I want to know, did they close the book? Because they talk to their mother. They have a very good relationship with their mother, but are they still going through some kind of trauma in their head from what happened throughout the years?
Right. Right. So with your cousins, do you feel like your relationship with them has improved over the years? Did it remain the same? Did it
Well,
deteriorate?
with my, well, we never was very talkative, but I find myself talking more with the middle child, which is my middle cousin, because it was drilled in.
Mhm.
So I find myself talking more to him, you know, less than the oldest one. And it's another story that I cannot discuss that she had to tell for herself. Like you said, it's some things going on in her life that I would not like the public to know about. But she's going through something right now. So on that hand, she would be unreachable, and to bring it up would make her resent a lot of things even more. It would just send her back in a spousal. So, I would have to just kind of like meet her where she at, and kind of leave it alone until she decide that she wants to come out of it. But for us, my middle cousin, he's okay. We talk and we have communication. My last cousin, we talk because, like I said, she's the one that was a mother, like a mother to my oldest daughter. So she took on that mother love. And she always asks us about her child, which is my child. And we don't really talk. She kind of talks with the child, like, like she talks with the daughter, like, oh baby, I see you here. You came outside, because she stays secluded in the house. But
uh,
I don't look at that we had a bad relationship because I kind of was there because I took a lick, like I told you, I that was the one that I took a lick for. And trust me, it left a scar. And did I resent? No, I didn't. I just felt like I was doing something for the good, that day. Do she ever resent me? No, she never said that. Nothing. She had a best. She had the best life. But and her siblings resented her because she didn't get beat like they did, so they resented her. So yeah, she was the golden child.
Well, I had to say that with my family, our relationships have struggled to try to connect throughout the years. We'll do like bumper cars. We'll come in, we'll try to connect, we'll bounce off, try to come in. We kept doing that throughout the years. I know I ain't gonna lie, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was the ass. I was the hardest one to get along with because I kept trying to stay away from everybody. And that I know did not go well with trying to facilitate the conversations, even though I wanted to. So it'd be like when the connection comes, somebody would, hey, we need to try to stay in contact and call each other a lot more. Like, okay, cool. I might call once or twice. If I don't get a call back, I don't call back. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna keep doing this if I don't receive calls. It's hard for me to reach out because I'm trying to get past the stuff that I'm dealing with, even though they reached out to me first. So, and like I said to my siblings, I hope y'all watching because this is real. This is me. So and I hate that about the trauma. See, this is another aspect of it too. The trauma itself makes you not want to relive it, right? So as a survivor, you try to avoid the things which would be your triggers, the things that bring back the trauma to your memory. And that could be the people who were there at the time. Sometimes my siblings, me knowing of my siblings or being around them is the trigger. And they weren't the ones that actually did the stuff. So that is another level that's creating distance or a bond breaking event between me and my siblings. That's a me thing. I don't know if it's the same thing with them, but like I said, we never did really get into a conversation that deep. It is nearing the 1 hour point in our show. And I think we're going to try to start wrapping this up. So, Storm, can you do the call to action? I'm going to let you have some words in because I can be quite wordy.
Okay. This week, think about one sibling relationship that needs healing and decide, do I want to repair this or do I need distance? Both answers are valid. Honor what you need. Join us Tuesday on Terror to Trump live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube. Interactive Q&A. Head to www.Pels Imperium to shop and support the podcast.
Okay, there's a little correction that needs to be made right there. That 10:30 a.m. is old time. That's where we used to be. We are now 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I forgot to change that in the
Okay.
wording. My apologies. That's on me, not Storm. Okay. Yeah, Terror the Tribe is supported by Pels Emporium. Every purchase, except for Crystal's Corner, goes to help support the podcast. So go on over there, peruse, check out some stuff. There's some nice stuff over there now. And then watch us live on Terror the Triumph Live on Facebook and on YouTube as well at Terror the Triumph Live. Our Facebook is Alfonso Pelt. So do facebook.org/Alfonso Pelt. Okay? Facebook.com/Alfonso Pelt. Remember, we are all beautiful inside and out, and then mostly on the inside. Nobody wants to be ugly on the inside. But if you are, you can change. Just like survivors who we feel like we're ugly on the inside, we can change. We can work to effectively create change on the inside. So That's what we're about on Terror to Triumph. We're about facilitating the gap between survivor and the help they need. You notice the numbers down at the bottom of the screen, they are facilitating that help. You can write the numbers down, put them in a journal, put them in the log, put them on your refrigerator. And whenever somebody does need the help, you'll have those numbers handy. There's also a couple of websites at the end of the script that's running. And those websites are actual links that you can go to try to seek the help of a therapist. So, people, we are giving you the tools that you can use to actually help you along your journey. I want everybody to come out from underneath that veil of fear, guilt, shame, and regret to become the person God meant them to be that person, to reclaim yourself, to experience the empowerment that God gave us as human beings by opening your mouth and breaking the silence. That's how you do it. That's how you reclaim your empowerment. That's how you take the power away from the people who have abused us, from the people who have hurt us. You know, we don't have to be silent. Okay. Storm, would you like to say any closing remarks?
No, I'm good tonight. Thank you.
Say you good tonight, and you good every night, right?
Mm,
Well, Storm has a platform on TikTok, but she is migrating. I don't want to give her information away unless she's ready to give it away. But I will put that up here for our viewers. If you want to go visit her page on TikTok, you
I'm
can
not
do so
on
with that
no
link
more,
right there.
no more, no more TikTok. It's all the way to
Okay,
Epic
so you have
Studios.
migrated. Epic
Yes.
Studios. Okay, I will change this for the next show.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how to do that though, for Epic. So that's some learning that I have to do. I got some homework now.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so we thank you all for coming and viewing our show. If you have any comments, if you have any suggestions, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us at Terror to Triumph. That's Terror, the number 2, Triumph at gmail.com and give us your thoughts there. Also, head on over to Pelts Emporium, peruse, and buy some merchandise to help support the show. Lastly, we now have subscriptions on our Buzzsprout platform. There are things that you guys are now starting to miss out on. We have our specials, we have our live Q&As, and our series that we have periodically are only going to be available through our subscriptions. Shortly, our YouTube page will stop showing those as we go forward. So the ones in the past, I will leave there on Terror to Triumph on our YouTube platform, but going forward, those are not going to show anymore. So if you want to continue to stay in the loop and have our special guests or greet our special guests and everything that's coming up, I want you guys to subscribe. The subscription is really cheap. It's only $10 a month. And you still have all the access that you need to get all the information you need for everything that you need. Okay. This has been Alfonso Pelt, your host. This has been my lovely co-host Storm. And this has been Terror to Triumph. We thank you again for joining us. And we will see you Tuesday. God bless y'all and y'all have a safe weekend.